I am who I am because I value my past. The memories of yesterday can never be changed, but they give me a reason to live again. There is a reason I am here today, but there is no reason you lost your lives. You were called abusive names, deprived of rights to be humans, slayed because of who you were born. I am lighting a candle as the sign of resilience. I'm paying a tribute. You left a legacy, and I'm a fruit from the love you sowed. Let's say never again to genocide. There should be no war. There should be no genocide. Anyway, let's say never again to genocide. Let's say never again to genocide. I was young, I still needed you, but you were taken away from me too soon. If I had one wish, it would be seeing you again. Today we're strong men and women, even though you are not here to see. We're carrying on to make you feel proud out there, watching down on us. I am lighting a candle as the sign of resilience. I'm paying a tribute. You left a legacy, and I'm a fruit from the love you sowed. Let's say never again to genocide. There should be no war. There should be no genocide. Anyway, let's say never again to genocide. Let's say never again to genocide. I am a witness that if you and I come together as one, we can make sure genocide never happens again. History should be told and passed on to further generations. Let's all stand up and all sing out, never again to genocide. Let's say never again to genocide. There should be no war. There should be no genocide. Anyway, let's say never again to genocide. Let's say never again to genocide. We are here as one nation. We say never again. We unite as human race. We say never again. again, never again. To genocide. Never again, never again, never again. We brought you flowers. 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 We brought you.
People of Ambazonia, the countdown is on. The highlight of the year is almost here.
Fellow Ambazonians, on this day years ago, we all rose as one nation to assert the independence of our beloved country, Ambazonia.
In just a few hours, get ready for the moment you've all been waiting for. On December 31st at 8 p.m. Amba time, join us for an inspiring evening as the President of the Federal Republic of Ambazonia, His Excellency Dr. Samuel Ikome Sako, delivers the much anticipated presidential end-of-year address to the nation.
This is the time to point our guns at the enemy only and not on ourselves. This is the time to escalate the defense of homeland with rock-solid determination.
Brought to you by State House Media and airing exclusively on ABC Networks 24 in English, French, Spanish, Portuguese, and Pidgin English. Don't miss this chance to hear directly from our leader as we ring in the new year together.
Dear people of the Southern Cameroons, we deserve our own society where our people can live in peace and dignity, as was envisaged by our founding fathers.
Mark your calendars, set your reminders, and gather your loved ones. This is one address you won't want to miss. Stay tuned.
Good evening, and you're welcome to this very important broadcast. This will be the last Ambazonia this week with Tarh Paddy King for the year 2024. And as we were reflecting on what will be necessary for our discussion this evening with our analysts that have journeyed with us from January to February into this month of December, we thought that it is important to tell Ambazonians what, in summary, what has been happening all through the year 2024. And there is this old Christian song, if any of you know it. It says, count your blessings, name them one by one, and it will surprise you what the Lord has done. Maybe you are seated somewhere in the diaspora at the home front with bullets flying all over your head. And maybe you're in the refugee camp and you're wondering what is happening? When are we going back home? Tonight is the show for you because we want to tell you that we are closer than ever before in the history of our nation to attain our total liberation from the Franco-Cameroon hegemony. We're going to talk on the issues that are going on in the world today and Ambazonia's involvement with diplomacy, the Global Push Initiative. We examine the federal government draft and its achievements into the county draft, and then the transition fund drive. Even as we speak to you right now, greater things are happening. Just a couple of days ago, we were here telling you of the ICC, in which is a progress made by the efforts of this government. Why did President Sako call it transition? What were some of those indicators that says that it is a transition? And why should we as Ambazonians be thinking that it is a time for us to transition and to fully reclaim our homeland and take our destiny into our hands? So like I said, this is going to be the last for a week. So much for us to talk about. We're going to look at the story of an honorable Ambazonian person whose name is known by many. That is Chief Justice Ayah Paul Abine, the circumstances that led to his death. That will happen right after the break. Stay tuned. Good evening and welcome, Barrister Fru, Barrister Mbeseha, and SOS Zama. It has been ages, and Ambazonians definitely are excited to have you here this evening. Gentlemen, maybe you just want to greet the people so we can get right into this conversation. I'll begin with you, Barrister Mbeseha.
Well, Paddy, thank you for having us on this last Saturday of the year. We're closing 2024, and thank all of us for still being alive. Thank our followers for still following us. We hope we've learned a lot from 2024 as we move to 2025. I think this discussion today will dive into all those events. But again, to all Ambazonians, we are stronger than we were yesterday. And so, thank you for having us to say Happy Christmas, though late, but Happy New Year in advance the next 2 days. Over to you.
Amazing. Barrister Mbeseha, please.
He just talked.
But I'm sorry, Barrister. I'm sorry. Barrister Fru, you met with me.
Paddy, it is rather surprising that you forget my name on the last Saturday of the year. But we thank God.
Yeah.
We thank God that we are all still alive. And I'm hoping that in 2025 we will still be here. Fellow Ambazonians at the home front and around the world, we bring you fraternal greetings on this last Saturday of the year. And as you have heard, we are going to try to tell you the progress that we have made, where we are, and when and how we will arrive. But you should be rest assured that a lot of progress has been done, a lot of progress has been made, and without any, I don't have any doubt that we will have a country and we will celebrate in Boya very, very soon. Thank you very much.
Amazing. SOS Zama, please talk to us.
No volume.
You're muted. I understand that. Okay.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
So
Excellent.
I just want to thank you for inviting me back on this platform, and Barrister Mbeseha and Barrister Nsoh, Happy New Year in advance. And to our Ambazonian brothers and sisters abroad and at home, we want to thank you for staying with us. Thank you for keeping us in the fight. And we want to thank you for all the commitment and all the sacrifices you've made all this year. We are clocking year 9 coming up very soon. It's not what most people expected, but it's better than the 2 days or the 2 weeks they gave us to standing of Mount Cameroun or the Cameroon Lion in the name of Mr. Paul Biya. We are already in this fight, and we are taking our own space. I see you guys back home. We are in this fight. Next year, we are coming into the 9th year. We're looking forward to doing better things. We are looking forward to progressing through to a transition into a republic. that we are marching straight forward to Buea. And we look forward to this continuous support from our donors. And without you, we will not be at the stage that we are. We would have been forgotten without your contributions, without your sacrifices. Many of you have picked up many hours abroad to be able to sponsor this. We thank you. And the people of Ambazonia will thank you. And Happy New Year in advance. Thank you.
It's quite important that you would have highlighted our donors during this very critical time. I want to use this opportunity. We understand that a couple of people at the home front, because we've switched networks, a couple of people at the home front are finding some challenges to connect. Try to use your technician to go through. A few people, mostly in Yaoundé and other different towns, have indicated that they are able to receive our signals. But we are consulting with the satellite company to make sure that you can get the signals even better. So we like those who want to volunteer on Monday by 10 a.m. Ambazonia time. If you want to volunteer to be one of those that will be contacted by our technical team, and maybe also those the satellite company, to be sure that they can walk you through it. There is a procedure. They are hoping to facilitate or simplify it for many people. We're ensuring that everyone will have the chance to watch the president on Tuesday, 31st night, as he addresses the nation. That's quite important. So thank you very much, all those who have been very supportive. We're calling on those in the diaspora. Please communicate with those on the home front. In the meantime, if you're facing challenges, you can use every of our other platforms to go to our YouTube channel and follow us via YouTube. Follow, subscribe, and follow us. Follow us via Facebook. And if you've downloaded our app on Android, then you will be able to also watch us live 24/7. If you've been able to download our app on Android Play Store. If you have our website, the new websites, during the course of this program, we ensure that we can have all of that going through. Then you are able to watch us 24/7. But we understand that takes a lot of data for those at the home front. So we're working very hard to make sure that everything is rectified latest Monday. And probably the frequency is changed for many people to be able to get our images. Now we have to get into the conversation of tonight that has to do with the progress that we've made as the people of Ambazonia for this whole year 2024. What did we do? So far, the struggle has made tremendous progress. What did we do? What did we realize? And how can we, in anticipation, project 2025 before the president's address on Tuesday? But before we get into that, a monument, if I must say it, an elderly person, an intellectual, one of those who would look at Cameroon and talk to Cameroon eyeball to eyeball. We're talking about Ayah, Chief Justice Ayah Paul Abine, is no more. My personal opinion, that could be subjective, is that Ayah Paul Abine was killed by the cabal in Yaoundé. That's my opinion. Onye, I understand that you are processing this. I'd like you to talk to us in this regard before our commentary. Can you hear me? I cannot get your sound, please. I can't get your sound, please. Well, I still cannot get your sound. Let's talk. We'll be back right after the break. Let's take a break and get your sound ready.
People of Ambazonia, the countdown is on. The highlight of the year is almost here.
Fellow Ambazonians, on this day years ago, we all rose as one nation to assert the independence of our beloved country, Ambazonia.
In just a few hours, get ready for the moment you've all been waiting for. On December 31st at 8 p.m. Amba time, join us for an inspiring evening as the President of the Federal Republic of Ambazonia, His Excellency Dr. Samuel Ikome Sako, delivers the much-anticipated presidential end-of-year address to the nation.
This is the time to point our guns at the enemy only and not on ourselves. This is the time to escalate the defense of homeland with rock-solid determination.
Brought to you by State House Media and airing exclusively on ABC Networks 24 in English, French, Spanish, Portuguese, and Pidgin English. Don't miss this chance to hear directly from our leader as we ring in the new year together.
Dear people of the Southern Cameroons, we deserve our own society where our people can live in peace and dignity, as was envisaged by our founding fathers.
Mark your calendars, set your reminders, and gather your loved ones. This is one address you won't want to miss. Stay tuned.
Welcome back. I want to believe that Undaunted should have a sound now. Onyeka, you hear me?
Very well, Mr. Tarh. I'm sure they can hear me right now.
Please talk to us.
And of course, yes, a great evening to all of the commentators and analysts in the house. For tonight, we'll take a look at Justice Ayah Paul Abine, who we can describe as a rare breed of honest judge and trustworthy. He was a politician who formerly served at the République de Cameroun's colonial Supreme Court as a magistrate. Well, he has passed away after a long illness. He died on the 25th of December 2024. He died at the Boya Colonial Regional Hospital at the age of 74. The question is, was his death natural? While the world was celebrating the birth of Christ on Christmas Day, mourning took place in the great Sopo Boya, where friends, families, and mentees remember the man who stood firmly against a corrupt colonial regime. Late Ayah Paul once served as advocate center at the Colonial Apex Court of La République de Cameroun and was a notable figure within the present colonial CPDM ruling party. In 2008, he was the only CPDM parliamentarian to oppose the Caribbean regime considered him a sworn enemy. His stance led to his resignation from the party, after which he founded the Popular Action Party and ran against Biya in 2011 elections, which were marred by allegations of rigging and vote buying as usual. But we will pause at this point to highlight and mention that the deteriorating health of Justice Ayah started in 2016. History has it that he was amongst those, in quotes, Anglophone that was tortured and detained unlawfully. Some school of thought has it that he, amongst others, were probably poisoned as well. But before we get further, we are not just thinking. He also stated this in some interviews. Let's get one out of the many interviews he gave.
I was taken ill in January 2019. The situation degenerated steadily till June 2022, when I could no longer stand on my own feet. I got paralyzed from the waist to the toes and got confined to this wheelchair. It would be recalled that on the 21st of January 2017, I was kidnapped from my house in Yaoundé, from my residence in Yaoundé, and kept in captivity for 223 days without charge. Some fine day, I was just told to walk back home. While in detention, I lost my left eye. I now see only with the right eye. I developed a cardiac malaise, which is still on. Only yesterday, I went to a center in Douala, where I have my medical checkup every month, and I was advised to meet a cardiologist. That's me. How did we get to this point where I climbed the judicial ladder to the top, got to index 1,400. Nobody goes beyond. Saved my country for at least 4 decades, only to end up the way I am. I'm unable to foot my medical bills because not only has my pension been retained by the government without any reason, without even informing me, for close to 7 years, but for over 5 years now, my bank accounts have been frozen. Nobody has told me why they were frozen. In fact, nobody has told me my accounts were frozen. I went to withdraw money to buy my medicines, only to find that I could not do it. And the bank informed me orally that they had been ordered to freeze my account. I have millions lying somewhere, yet I have nothing in terms of money to buy my medicines. My children have sacrificed. God gave me wonderful children. I tried in the past to say a number of things that I thought were of general interest, and I paid dearly for it. I'm still paying dearly for it. Can you imagine that? Pension is my saving. How would anybody return my pension without due process? Mr. President of the Republic, if I stood against constitutional amendment, I had nothing against you. It was a matter of principle. Pension is a saving, money deducted from my salary over the period of my career. It is not money I have to earn. How on earth would your government sit on my money for 7 years, even at the time that I am on the brink of the grave? Mr. President, I leave it to your conscience. So I speak out. While in Parliament, I spoke out. They didn't kill me, but Martinez Zogo, who repeated just what I had said over the years, I was in Parliament for 11 years, has been killed. And I got to a point where I said it was unconscionable. It was immoral. That's the meaning of unconscionable. It's legal jargon. That it was unconscionable to amend the Constitution to the benefit of an individual.
Well, unfortunately, we still cannot get your sound, but I think I would want to just suspend it. I would like to suspend you on here at that point, right there, so we can get into. I think the commentary of Ayah Paul himself is sufficient for us to cue in from there. This is the sad situation. Barrister Fru, maybe I should begin with you.
Yes, Paddy. Thank you very much. I can confirm without any doubt that La République killed Justice Ayah. Justice Ayah was a man of integrity. I knew him as a young lawyer. As when I started practicing in Douala, I was appearing before him in the High Court in Boya. I did a case before. I did a couple of cases before him in Boya. And this is a man of integrity, the only one that I knew to have integrity in the judicial system that Cameroon set up. If you had a judgment before Justice Ayah, you would have done your work to merit that judgment. He did everything by the book. He was so honest and had such an integrity that the system felt threatened. Justice Ayah's problem started when he wrote a stinker and made presentations about how can a country determine its constitutional enactment for the benefit of an individual. That is where Paul Biya decided that he would torture him till he dies. First, Justice Ayah was first a CPDM militant. He went to parliament through the CPDM from Akwaya. He won elections. When he got to parliament, like he himself just told you, he denounced all the embezzlement that were being, money that was being embezzled through a certain account headings in the national budget. Like he said it himself, he was not killed like Martinez Ogo, but they decided to arrest him after he had left and at that parliamentary seat, he left and formed a political party and run that political party and ran against Biya. They decided to arrest him with no charge. A justice, because how did they arrest him? He returned to the Supreme Court because when he went to parliament, he suspended his seat at the Supreme Court. When he formed his party, he still suspended it. But when he left that party, he went back. He was called back to the Supreme Court because he had climbed the ladder to the top. He was what is called Magistrat or Irashi. That is, he got to the bar of where any magistrate in Cameroon will get to. And they kept him in the Supreme Court on an empty table, but he was a judge. When they picked him up, he was a judge. And they picked him where? In his residence in Yaoundé. And locked him. He told you the number of days. That's roughly 9 months. And they released him. I don't know whatever they did to him then, but they released him. And since they released Justice Ayah, he has never been himself. How can you block a man who has served the nation for almost 40 years? Block his retirement? And that's not all. You block all his accounts for no reason, no judgment, no court order, nothing. And made him a pauper. Like he himself said, he became paralyzed, went to the wheelchair. He had all kinds of illnesses. His children have done the best they could do. And he gave up the ghost. I think that was on the 24th or 23rd. I think it was 24th of December in the Boya Regional Hospital. What else can you say? Can anybody tell me that Biya did not kill Justice Ayah? And for what reason? Just because he opposed he's taking a life presidency, which he is holding right now. There are two. Justice Ayah is the second person that has been assassinated by Biya. The first one was Lapiro de Manga in convict prison in Douala. He left that prison already poisoned. The United States gave him full asylum with his wife and children, 7 children. He arrived in the United States and they found out that he was already dying. And he later on died and was cremated in the United States. Justice Ayah is the second.
I would say Lapiro is the second known because there are lots of people.
Yeah. The second known. I will get to that. The second known. I'm talking about the ones that are direct.
Yeah.
Then the other ones, you have the Reverend Fathers, Father Mbasi, Father Veng, the 2 sisters in Jum, the Archbishop of Ngaoundéré, Monsignor Plomier, and of course, just Bishop Mbala, and a very venerated Reverend Father from Kumbu. And then Father Adeso was poisoned sitting on his chair in Yaoundé and watching TV and died there just because he preached against homosexuality. All these cases that I'm telling you, Paddy, there is none that the Justice Department in Cameroon has opened a fire. Laurent Eso sat on all and destroyed all the files. No case. Bishop Kleda actually declared that he saw the body of Bishop Bala, and they removed all his private parts and every other thing, and yet nobody up to today. The judicial system is so corrupt. Laurent Eso made sure he destroyed every piece of thing. None of these people has ever been any kind of judicial process has ever been open to find out how this Woda died. Look at Martinez Ogo. The case of Martinez Ogo is tied up there in the military tribunal. I'm not sure it's going to end up with anything. The number of people, we're just talking about those we know, the number of people that this regime has killed directly, you cannot begin to count. But Justice Ayah and Lapiro Mbanga, I would attribute their death directly to Pobia. Because what they said and did concerned him in particular. Here we are. Justice Ayah is no more.
Let me hear from you, Barrister Mbeseha.
Thank you for having me. I think Justice Ayah's story is very pathetic, and to me, it is very, very personal. Because I know him. I've known him since he got transferred from Womb to Boya in 1995, 96. He ended up building a house in Great Support. He's my neighbor. He's about 300 yards from my house. So we're neighbors. I know him personally from that perspective. But talking about Ayah, there are little things that people do not know. Why earned the anger of Yaoundé. This is Ayah. He came to Boya as the president of the Court of First Instance, the Magistrate Court. They had just formed the SCNC, which was unpopular to Yaoundé. In 1996, I think, a group of young men were arrested for being activist supporters of the SCNC and brought before Paul Ayah as the president of the Boya Magistrate Court. I summarily dismissed the case and said those young men have the right to belong to any group they want. There was no need to prosecute for anything else. That is where he started his enmity with Yaoundé. And so Yaoundé kept an eye on him. Ayah was a very astute man. He was a very straightforward man. Fast forward, Ayah ended up in Yaoundé as a member of it, under the CPDM list. And as you said, the Constitution, 1996 Constitution, did not allow for. And so in 2008, because he entered Parliament in 2008, when they were trying to change the Constitution to term limits, Paul, who was a CPDM MP from Makwaya, voted against it. He was the one who voted against it. And so he started keeping an eye on him. This man must be an enemy. And the next thing they did was to send him out of Parliament. Came 2012, I was in Boya then. The CPDM gang in Mayo, they were struggling to look for somebody to replace Paul at all cost because they saw him as an enemy. And they ended up taking him away from the CPDM list. So he could not go to Parliament anymore because the list system have his own political party or stand. In fact, they make a mistake. Ayah did not create the PAP. The People's Action Party was never created by Ayah. The People's Action Party was created by Chief Ngo, who was a lawyer in Kumbade in 1990 when they legalized political parties. Chief Ngo is one of the people who applied, if you have been talking about Abuja case of 2002. Chief Ngo was one of the people who petitioned the 9. But unfortunately, Chief Ngo died. But the party did not die. That party was not even, it was a very small party. Chief Ngo was the chairman, his murderer, and so on and so forth. But the party did not die. So when the party survived, Ayah decided that he would challenge President Paul Biya in the next election. And so he to change the political party. So got into PAP, which was a dormant party. That's how he got the PAP, to use it for the presidential elections, which he came, I think, third or fourth. But that's not the most important thing. The most important thing is Ayah, there's a constitutional provision, Article 66, that demands that all government officials, politicians in particular, their assets. It has never been implemented here today. Never. There's no provision under Article 66 that they needed a presidential decree or some other law to make you declare assets. So when Ayah went to the president election and declared his assets by, he produced an affidavit, which I saw, and listed all the property that he had, including a small hut that was between 17 and Moya. They call it Bakassi Naboya in Cameroun. And so he was the only candidate who ever self-declared his assets to go to Parliament, to go campaign against Paul Biya. I'm trying to show you how they build up the anger against him. They didn't. Nobody has ever done it except Ayah alone. He declared it. He did that and took an affidavit, filed it with dossiers for running for the presidency, which no other person has done. Paul Biya has never done. None of his ministers has done. That is not enough. That is not enough. Something again happened with Paul Ayah. In 2014, Paul Ayah filed the longest petition at the United Nations, 98-page petition, which is the best I've ever found. We have been talking about the history of Southern Cameroon. If you read that document, which he filed at the United Nations to protest against what they was doing to us, it is so detailed that you don't need to go anywhere. Where he mentions Article Resolution 1608, it doesn't end there. He reproduces it there. He mentions Resolution 1514. He reproduces the whole thing to show the strength of Ambazonian case. It was 2014. And so, Paul Ayah, because he went to Parliament, the rule is that when you go to Parliament, you revert to Parliament. Parliament pays you. And so when they kicked out Paul Ayah from the Parliament, the Parliament could no longer pay him their budget. He had to fall back to the judiciary. When he fell back on the judiciary, they will not integrate him. They will not let him back. So he had no more salary. He remained like that, without any money for himself, nothing to live on. And so came 2014 when he filed this thing. He had no money. They will not integrate him into the magistracy and keep him in Boya. Because, as Barrister So says, he was the highest lawyer, index 1040. He will not be in the magistrate court, neither will he be in the high court. So the only place where they accommodate you is the Supreme Court. And so they pretended to appoint him general advocate of the Supreme Court and sent him to Yaoundé without reinstating his salary, nothing for him. The man went to Yaoundé, he was renting, he was really getting sick. He was renting, paying out of pocket. And so to make things worse, when 2016 came and the crisis came up, they saw Ayah's hand from the petition to the United Nations. So this must be a terrible man. He must have connived to make this Anglo behavior. He was never part of the consortium. He was not in the SCNC. He was just sitting in his house. So they thought that the best thing to do would be to arrest him. Yeah. That's why they came and took him to jail, because they had this eye on him. And so you find poor Ayah descending down. After that, he went back, after keeping him for 8 months, 9 months in jail. He was released along with Agwambala and the rest. What was his crime? He had not even done anything. Agwambala, Yamba, and the rest were members of the consortium. Ayah was not part of the consortium, but they had to lock him up. And so when they chased him out of that,
suspicions of the fact that they're thinking he will be aiding the movement.
No, they believe that he was very active. He was a lawyer. They believe that he was a very active supporter of Anglophones. And so they have to silence him. And so when they locked him up, as he puts it out there, after 9 months, he's getting blind. They send him home. He has no money. He's living in his house next to my own house there. And then what happened? His son launched Ayah Foundation that was doing great work for the people, doing charitable work, doing work for refugees. You understand now, this name is Ayah. We must bring him down. They banned the Ayah Foundation. And they find him sitting there, sick, dying, without anything. You don't need to see the tributes Kamto and the rest have put of him. You know, this was a giant. He was a man they wanted to destroy, and they destroyed him. Is this new? No. Yaoundé, I've always said here, from my own personal opinion, Yaoundé never forgives the opponents. Especially the CPD. You stand against them, they'll follow you to your bed. Until you die, you will not forgive you. And so that's the system from which we want to run. That's the poor Ayah, not dead, without money. His bank accounts, I'm told, were closed. And so he died a pauper after being a giant.
Yeah, just so I can cut in there, Barrister Mbeseha. We just watched that video. I wouldn't mind to even play it again, where he himself is chronicling how he was kidnapped. He's a lawyer, so he's using his words rightfully. He was kidnapped from his home into an underground prison where he almost got blind. They almost blind him there. That was not all. This man was released. After he's ill, we are suspecting that he was poisoned. They wouldn't allow him to have sufficient money that can enable him for treatment. Why Biya is using our money, our resources to build for himself hospitals in foreign countries, spending hundreds of millions to stay alive. It's just shocking to me how that some people who call themselves Anglophones are not realizing that they are an endangered species in the Cameroons. SOS Zama, please talk to us.
I don't know Chief Justice Ayah that much, so I cannot make anything relating to his health status when he died. But I think his death just mirrors what's going on in Cameroon. And it's a pity that even amongst the Anglophone elite, there was not even an outcry on his behalf. That's how they marginalize us. That's how they divide us into different areas and different interests so that we cannot really stand up as one. But I think that's feeble-mindedness on the part of those elites in Yaoundé. This just goes on to say Cameroon is a lawless country. Cameroon has never really had any rules that have been applied and upheld. These are situations that are out there that really shows that we need to get away from this dungeon. These Francophones, especially the BR regime, has really terrorized Cameroonians for 40 years, and some of them are really have been anesthetized that they don't have any action. They don't want any action. Look at the state of the capital in Yaoundé. Look at the state of all the other cities. The depravity in Cameroon is so bad that even people who are in the CPDM are still praising and asking for him to run for the next elections in 2025. All these people are really suffering from the Stockholm syndrome. They are loving their enemy, and this is what we have to deal with. This is what we want to get our people away from. And we see this thing replay itself over and over and over. And we cannot sit idly like the Francophones are. We can't sit idly. We have to fight this fight, and we have to get away from this toxic and poisonous relationship that they have in Yaoundé. We cannot do that. At this point in time, we have to extend our regards to the Ayah family, and we've lost a hero, we've lost a bulwark of veracity, we've lost somebody who stood for justice, something that they did not want the people to see in this time frame. But we, the people of Ambazonia, we can praise our own, and we missed him, we love him, and we want him to be seen as a bulwark of truth that he's always been.
That's amazing. Thank you very much in that regard. Well, we thought that would have been a good place to begin our conversation this evening. And again, we want to move into this important aspect that has to do with...
Before we move, Paddy, let me add something.
Please.
Every country deserves the leadership that they have. For 42 years, this country they call La République de Cameroun has nurtured and accepted a regime that is monstrous, made out of killers, made out of homosexuals, made out of all kinds of criminals, and they have killed men of God, they have killed a lot of people, they have killed civilians. Everywhere you see the hand of the regime murdering their own citizens. And yet, for 42 years, this so-called African country accepted this monster whom Ahidjo did not discover before handing the mantle of power to him. This monster has lived for 42 years in the power, and he has lived for 92 years on this earth, and is still living, and he will one day pay the price, because Ahidjo's body is still lying in Senegal. That is the first president of this so-called country, and on burying him, those Muslims must have cursed, and that curse will live with this man. This man is not going to die. We have speculated his death several times, but look at him at 92. He will suffer and eat himself before he goes. God being our helper.
Well, you might be talking as though you are joking. There's an image. That's not what I want to make a principle of our conversation. We have very important things to talk about this evening, but there is an image of his daughter actually decaying as a very young age. She's not even 30 years, but she's literally older than one of my elder sister that's more than 50 something years. So just to tell you that the evil that men do will live after them and even their generations to come. It's happening, and there's yet to come what has been done. But that's an aside. Let's get into something very serious, which is the year 2024 for Ambazonia. As we walk in the field every day, we talk with people. You have those who are abreast of the situation, those who feel inspired, those who feel fatigued. We have those who feel manipulated, who have been manipulated. You have those who don't even understand the trends and the things that are happening, and they are looking up to us to actually explain some of these things. There are those who have lost all faith that Boya can be a possibility in our day. There are those who, no matter what, continue to fight. But have we made any progress? Is a question that I want to ask. And we'll take it chronologically. And where I want us to start would be on issues relating to defense. And that's why we have you here, SOS Zama. So I would begin with you in this regard before the lawyers will make some commentary. You are aware of where we started: federal government draft, county draft, the transition, the things that have happened on the ground. When you look at our recent strategic move, would you look into the eyes of Ambazonians today to tell them that we have made progress? And if yes, what kind of progress have we made in terms of our military?
Well, we've made a lot of progress compared to 2023, 2022. We've moved a lot in terms of maintaining the ungovernability of our territories by La République. Most of the administrators are crown administrators, but they are not administering the areas that they are assigned to. They are all nestled in bunkers in Upstation or in Boya Town, or some of them are even living in Bafoussam and in Douala, the nearby cities. These people don't have no control over our territory. They come in and they terrorize our people and they run back. Their soldiers are not going in gangs like they used to go before. They've been neutralized a lot of times with roadside improvised devices that we place on those streets. And they don't come in like they used to come in and just drive in and drive out and pick up a horde of people and take to their barracks and ask for ransoms. We have maintained that distance. They are not controlling any territory than they started in 2022 or 2023. We are still playing a lot of defense, yes, but we are going into the main towns now. We have more activities in the Bamenda main area, in the Fako, even though albeit in Fako it's a little bit tepid, but we are moving from the periphery to the centers, and we are going in a circumferential manner. We are going to encircle those areas, and we're going to move forward. For those who don't think they are buying the propaganda from La République that everything is okay, they are just doing what they call ratissage or mop up, cleaning up of the bandits that they call our restoration fighters. But we are not there to be interpreted by them the way they want. They never used to accept the fact that they will call us Ambazonian. They are calling us Ambazonian. It takes a lot of time for people to convert to what they are scared of. Ambazonia is here to stay. We are not giving them an inch. They've put a lot of pressure on us in Ngoketunja. They've put a lot of pressure in Bui. They've put a lot of pressure in Bamenda, in Meme, and all those areas. But we are still standing. We are still fighting. They are not there. They come in like flies and they fly back. If you ask Zimanto, who's a statistician, he keeps the numbers for those who have been neutralized in Ambazonia, Cameroun soldiers that have been neutralized. They've been neutralized so much that he's forgotten the number. He's lost count. But if you go to their hospitals in Lakentini, you go to their hospitals in Santrin Jamo, there are lots of them that have been enucleated. They've been blinded. There are a lot of them that have been limbs have been amputated by devices that we've placed. There are many of them that will never go back to the fight. But these people are being segregated and hidden so that the population not see the aftermath of what of their stupid war that they are fighting in Ambazonia. Yes, our people are really anxious. When is this war going to end? I will say very soon. And how soon is soon? I'll say it's very soon. And people will still insist, but how long? I say how long is coming. We will win this war, and we are fighting this war on the side of righteousness. We've always wanted to negotiate this thing, but they've never wanted to negotiate. They wanted to kill us. They thought they would just kill us and it'll be over. But this is year 9 we are getting into, and we are telling our people to understand that a war of liberation, it's a tough war. But there's no time limit. We cannot say there's a time limit, but there are questions in history of a 100-year war, and there are some 100-year wars going on right now that we know of. War is not fun, and we understand that it's miserable for our civilians. There are thugs. They have militias that have set up to terrorize our civilians, to give them the impression that our soldiers are terrorizing them. And that's what the Cameroon's information they send out there, that we are terrorizing our people. They have terrorist group and all that. We are the defenders of our people, and we are mindful that our primary job is to put ourselves in front of our civilians. And we've been doing that valiantly for the past 8 years. And we just want our people to be patient. Follow what we instruct you guys on the field to do. We are more than them. We will win this war, and it's ours and ours to lose, because so long as we can fight together, so long as we can marshal all our forces and all our energies and resources to fight the enemy, the capital enemy, not the enemies within us, the capital enemy, which is La République du Cameroun, we are making a headway, and it's not publicly shown a lot, because we've told our fighters to stop filming a lot of the things that they do, because it exposes them to harm's way. So you might not be getting as many footage like you used to do, but the war goes on. And you can tell when things happen, and I get calls from Bamenda, I get calls from Bafut, I get calls from Munya and all not. All those things are happening. Even though La République is telling people there's nothing happening. You may be conceived. There are some people who go to Victoria and they say, oh, everything is going on fine. Yes, it doesn't mean that there's no war going on. It may be silent, but it doesn't mean that nothing is going on. There are other things that are happening in the background, even those without guns. Sometimes war is fought better without the sounds of bullets. And that's what sometimes we do in those big cities, in those areas that the population is so much. We are doing the job that we are assigned to. We are assigned to liberate Ambazonia and get an office in Boya, in the Prime Minister's Lodge, and we are doing that. And I just hope our supporters, albeit the lack of footage doesn't mean that there's no war going on. The war is going on every day, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Even on Christmas Day, there was something going on. On New Year's Day, we are sure things will go on. This war will go on until we reach a dialogue table and we resolve these things like we should have done initially.
Now you're picking out some time to talk about the different strategies, and I want to remind us of what the president says. He says we change our strategy as the enemy changes their strategy. They have realized that we have destroyed several armored cars, and they are trying to change the ground game. And we are also doing what the vice president would call urban guerrilla warfare, which is not necessarily, it's just more than a hit and run. I think that explanation was amazing. Vice Mbeseha, you have been with us since January. And I would say this is the highest year in your life. probably that you have been on television, because there are times you're with Undaunted Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and on Saturday you are still with us. I want to thank you very much, Barrister Mbeseha, for that. So you are in better place to chronicle to us, because you kind of work with us as we process the news on daily basis, to tell us some of these attainments in defense specifically. I want us to focus on defense before we move into diplomacy and how politics is changing on the ground. There's so much for us to talk about. But talk to us, Barrister Mbeseha. You have witnessed some of these things. You've been there with the reports and every day. So this is not about you coming to do a one-day commentary. It's like a history that you're participating in, documenting every single day. What can you tell the people of Ambazonia and the world today that we would have achieved this year as we're closing it in less than 72 hours? Vice Mbeseha, please.
Paddy, thank you very much. Before I delve into this security thing, let me just remind you of something I forgot to say. We talk about Justice Ayah Abine. I just want to remind ourselves that I had posted something out there, remembering poor Ayah, on our different forums. So those who are interested should read that. It's long. It's 91 pages. I encourage people to read it. It's very, very important. That said, let me come over to what you want me to say now. We can all give kudos to our defense people. Those who are taking care, they are doing a good job. I think that report is a very important report, and it should encourage us to do more rather than do less. The war is ongoing. We're getting stronger and stronger than ever before. We're getting better organized than ever before. And I take a sentence, a phrase from what the chief defense guy said, we'll do all this until we get to a negotiation table, which we ought to have done long before now. And I say I want to address that because we're going to 2025. Until we know what happened behind, we will prepare better for the future. It's better to look back because there's a lot of confusion, there's a lot of misunderstanding as we approach 2025. So that if we understand ourselves very, very well, I mean, all Ambazonians, there will be no more room for idle talking. Let's look back as we enter 2025, what has passed behind us. The first thing we remember vividly, that Sisiku was taken out 5th of January 2018. When they took out Sisiku as the leader, they thought that was the end of the revolution. And then a year into that, maybe a year and a half, they organized the monologue in Yaoundé, 2019, the Grand National Dialogue, and came out with whatever resolutions they came. The true Ambazonians didn't go there. There were some Ambazonians there, but they did not represent us. They thought they were going to end the war. It did not end. And so, when they organized the Grand National Dialogue with Sisiku and his team in prison, they thought they could force them to become leaders, to take over from prison. It did not work. It did not work. So this is 2019. And then they started looking for ways to solve the problem, going to the dialogue table as we've all agreed. President Sako got out, struggled until we got the Swiss-led initiative, which was up to today the only credible source that we had. It was supported by the United Nations, by Canada and different other countries. But he died. Some Ambazonians, knowingly or unknowingly, killed it. And so it's good for us to look back at those things. After the 2019, in order to implement the resolution of 2019.
I'm sorry, I'm not cutting you short, but we're going to talk about diplomacy and you give this account. I want us to focus on the military.
I'm not dealing with the problem. Let me just fill my timeline. It's not going to be long.
Okay.
After that, it's not diplomacy. After that event, you see, Yaoundé wanted to foster this thing and said something surfaced among us, Amazonians, called the CDN, which role was to promote Yaoundé, implement their resolutions. And so CDN featured Canada 1, Canada 2, Canada 3. What was wrong with the CDN? They were all our brothers and sisters. But something went wrong there. Whatever thing they did, they refused to be transparent in their financing. So they raised suspicion as to where the money was coming from. Some of us believe, including me, that they were being funded by Yaoundé. But fast forward, they ended up in Canada 1, Canada 2, Canada 3, and something they call the pre-talks, which I've never heard anywhere in the negotiations. Pre-talks ended 2 years ago without any formal statement. Our respectable brothers and sisters who took part in the pre-talks have never given us an account of what went on. But we had filters from the CDN and other participants, Capo Daniel and the rest. So we know that it was so much thing. And then after that, the last they did was to come up with something they call the secretariat, which was announced and published more than 12 months, more than 15 months, 16 months ago. We've not seen anything called secretariat in action. But that is not all. As we enter 2025, this is where I'm going to end. As we enter 2025, the greatest call we hear from people left and right is unity, unity, unity. Apparently, they don't know what they're talking about unity. But you can talk about unity, but to talk about unity, you must know what you're talking about. Unity about what and about who. They forget to know that even if there are factions into this creation, the actual players into the disagreements, into the dysfunctioning of the thing, are only two of them. Siseko in Kondenge, who thought he could carry government from there. He created one to destroy the main IG that he headed. Two, there was a certain guy they called Kometa who headed the Restoration Council on behalf of the SCNC. Kometa, of all, destroyed the so-called IG by creating IG Crisano, IG, the other lady. Within 6 months, within 2 years, he created all these things. And what happened? Kometa himself opted out and recreated his SCNC, which has, you hear them today calling for unity from SCNC, which is not even united. Kometa is not the head of the SCNC. You find them talking unity from where? From Kondenge. These actors who created the factions. And so this is where we're heading to 2025. So it's good for us to know this fact, especially those who don't know, that there's no talk of unity here. The people who created these factions, notably Siseko Ayuktabe, notably Kometa and his SCNC. Now that they are calling for unity, the population should simply ask them to go back to the fold, rather than creating some illusion of unity which does not exist. So that's where we're heading to in 2025. This is not diplomacy, it's just the politics of our liberation struggle. And so my own take going to 2025, to do what our Secretary of Defense has said, better. Let people understand this. For us to raise the money that we're raising through the draft, let people understand where we're coming from. Now, this government, which you would hate to hear the name government, is the only symbolic thing that frightens. Yaoundé is not alone. It's the only symbolic thing that frightens France and their supporters in this our cause. So
Yeah,
the fight
and
is
we're
ongoing.
going to get into
Over to you.
those into the maneuvers of France and all of that. But I would have really loved us to give an examination. We are still on that, on the defense at the home front. By through we were here and we saw the Ambazonian State Army in Buiringa, Oketunja, and all the countries in 1st October. At a time when Cameroun felt they were banished and shockingly, the festivities were amazing. Best of its time. I hope we'll have some of the videos as you're talking. But when it comes in terms of our home front initiative, the combat at the home front, which is what gives substance to advocacy, to diplomacy. Without that, we might just be making noise like or writing petitions like our forebears did, without and it was creating no traction. What would you say 2024, Barrister Fru, has been to Ambazonia?
2024, in my mind, can be compared only to 2021. 2024 regained the momentum that we lost in 2021 when Chris Anu and his cohorts conducted a coup against the interim government as it then was and scattered away all our resources, tempered with our bare existence, tempered with all the websites that we had, and scattered and took away all the money that we have online and in the banks. This government did not collapse then. It has stood the test of time. 2024 has brought back that momentum. How did it happen? 2024 is a year that we saw a successful draft of the counties and LDA from the beginning of the year, transitioning to the federal draft, which gave it a lot more momentum on the ground, and now the transitional draft, which has just been concluded very successfully. 2024 has seen a lot of military action on the ground. The 1st October celebrations was one of the best that we have seen since the struggle started. You have the soldiers, the ASA in Boyo, the ASA in Donga Manton, the ASA in Bui, the ASA in Gokutunja, the ASA all over the place, demonstrating their prowess. And it's very frightful for La République de Cameroun because La République de Cameroun has tactfully withdrawn from the fight, but using our internal enemies to come in the middle of the night and assassinate our people. They cannot go near our fighting force because they have lost the battle. They are on the verge of losing the whole war. La République de Cameroun is on its knees financially because of this war. You will not believe, Paddy, that our soldiers don't need to buy AK-47s anymore because we have recovered more than we need for the fight. All we need to do is to continue to furnish them with whatever is not recoverable from La République de Cameroun and continue to keep our people on the ground to make the ground ungovernable. And that's what is happening. And something happened in 2024 that has never happened. A squad led by a general left Bui and entered Bamenda to clean Bamenda. And they have promised to clean up Bamenda, and they are doing it. Bamenda became very worrisome for the rest of us because of the complicated ADF, a militia financed and equipped by La République de Cameroun to fight us and to kill our people. They went to the extent of torturing our taxi men, asking them to paint their taxis blue and white. But a squad left Bui, and they have cleaned my phone Quen and the Sacred Heart Junction where La République forces stand on a regular basis to collect money from the road users. They are watching Bamenda right now as we speak, and they can enter Bamenda anytime they wish to, anytime that they've noticed that the people are being taken hostage again, they will enter. And that is what the vice president refers to as Gorola, urban Gorola. It has started in Bamenda because this squad leaves Bui, comes right down to Bamenda and carry out actions and goes back successfully. And that is the way guerrilla warfare works, hit and run. Because Bamenda was pretentiously taken over by La République de Cameroun because of the well-equipped military garrison in Bamenda Station, where all the administrators live, like the Secretary of State just said. The administrators don't live again in the places where they are appointed in the either the northwest or the southwest, as they call them. But I call them in the northern zone and the southern zone. They are now commemorating in those areas where where the army is, so that they can be protected. The southern Cameroon's Ambazonia is ungovernable to La République de Cameroun since the beginning of 2024. And therefore, we are foreseeing our transition. That's why I will not say much about the transition draft, but I will say that that is how the president has conceived the transitional draft. It is an indication that 2024 we have made a lot of progress, and 2025 we will concretize the progress we have done. Thank you, Paddy.
You know, you've just brought in some energy in that analogy that you're making there. We've just been enjoying the beautiful images that are coming from Bui alone. We have all of the images which you're gonna showcase here this evening. You could see an entire army that was put together by Tokandu and his boys, and this is amazing. And I'm coming to you again, SOS Zama, on this. This is quite amazing. You understand the ability. I understand that we also had the ASA left manual to come and reinforce Mezam alongside Bui, and great actions took place. This Cameroon is finding some difficulty to dismantle, and it's important for us to highlight this because it's been 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8 years when the cabal in Yaoundé looked at us and told us that we will be crushed within 2 weeks. That was arrogance at its peak that has been messed up today. And SOS Zama, this is where I really would like you to talk again. How do you feel, knowing fully whether you've worked with these guys for ages, you've worked with them for quite a while, and right now they've grown not just in intelligence on the ground, but you see them growing in military maturity, where they're fighting the war and respecting international law even at the same time. Because the ASA is not been indicted for crimes against humanity. We've not seen the ASA beheading people on camera. The ASA know their target is Cameroon military. They are protecting the civilian population. We've seen images here where the civilians are excited. These were children excitedly beside Tokandu, freely playing with Tokandu. I'm talking about children freely playing with Tokandu without any fear. Women dancing. This is a man loved by his people, protected by his people. You had hundreds of people gathering there in Kumbu. You know, this is self-evident of the maturity that you have on the ground. Please, SOS, talk to us.
Well, I think once you do something over and over for 8 years, you tend to be a specialist in that. We have the soldiers who have been fighting for the last 8 years. In Bui, this war has gone on every day for 8 years. So they've had to hone on their skills. They've had to hone, the generals have honed their interpersonal skills, their command structure skills, their counter-civilian skills. And this is what is paying off. They are transferring those skills to other localities that is being used against the enemy. The thing is, La République is having difficulties because our soldiers have been fighting this war for many years. But when they bring in new soldiers who were just recruited and they come to this battlefield, they get eviscerated within days, and they carry these corpses and they take them back to Yaoundé. And some of them are buried without even telling their families. Our soldiers, we've really marshaled all effort to make them understand that the civilians are their first lines of defense. As many civilians there are, it means the eyeballs are triple or in their millions, and they can see what the enemy is trying to do and transmit that information to our soldiers. You see them carrying the generals or the soldiers or the ASAs in their localities. It's because of that symbiotic relationship that we have with the community. Notwithstanding, La République is trying to do, they are not fighting this war symmetrically like they did before, coming in and shooting places and going back home. They know that the risk of is multi% chance if they come and shoot their way in, they're going to die going back home. So they're trying to make a lot of these militias, arm these militias to fight us. And we are telling our soldiers, especially those kids who surrender from the battlefield, if you want to surrender from the battlefield, surrender and go somewhere else. If you go back to the DDR centers and you come back, you are branded as a soldier and you'll be shot at. We will not feel any remorse trying to shoot at you if you're coming back to kill us as civilians. This is what they do. They carry out these people, they pick up one or two of them, soldiers who come in, surrender, who ought to be rehabilitated, who ought to be treated like a POW, but because La République is saying that it is not a war, they cannot treat the people as ex-combatants. So, but we are telling our citizens, we have to understand the rules of engagement. We have to attack military targets. We have to attack military accessories. We have to attack any person who is collaborating with the military. If you are collaborating with the military, it means you are part of that military. So everything that is militarized is fair game, and we let our citizens know that. I just want to let people understand that the soldiers are so disciplined that even it's way back 2021 or 2020, not say 21, there was a military truck that turned over in Tombell, somewhere around there. Who were those who were saved? The soldiers were even there to help the fellow soldiers, La République soldiers. They would have killed these people, but they opted not to. The civilians went and saved these people, even though a few weeks later they came out and massacred people in that area. Those same soldiers. That should tell you the maturity of our soldiers. That should tell you our understanding of what is at stake. Our people are not the people. Our people, our civilians are not the enemy. The soldiers are. Those who are carrying guns and coming to kill people, and those who are collaborating with them and giving them intelligence, they are intelligence officers who are also open for attacks. So we are telling our people to stay within the rules of engagement. We drill this over to them all the time. And that's why you see there's not been a mass killing of Francophones in our area, because some of them were giving information about our ASA's movements and all that. They don't even do that. They call them in and they interview them and they let them go. But do you know how many of our citizens have been killed in La République who are running from the war, and they've been sitting there and they go kill them in their houses and pick them out just because of who they are? I think the majority of our soldiers need to be applauded more than we are giving them the credit for. These are people who did not have no military training when this thing started, and they've grown into it. And I think they're getting better by the it. Every day that goes by, La République is going to face even harder difficulties. I think the sooner they can go to the negotiation table, they will save more lives on their part, because they're losing a lot of money. This thing is draining a lot. And that's one of the biggest goal we have, to drain La République. If they want to stay down dirty, we're going to blow them up and blow them many more times. It costs us not much to improvise one of those things, to take out a 40 million, 50 million dollar truck, and $50,000 truck, or 50 million franc, I'm sorry. But these things are out there, and I think I commend our soldiers, I commend our generals, Tokendu, Nwanyo, and all the rest in all the areas of our fight. But I just want to say, yes, we are up to the task, and 2025 is coming, and our numbers are swelling as we are getting them equipped. We are getting more people into the fight, and we'll get more ahead. We will try to secure the territory more in 2025 than we did in 2022 and 2024.
That's quite encouraging. So now let's quickly move into diplomacy and advocacy. So much has happened in diplomacy. We've seen the fruits last week and the week prior. We're talking about the achievement of the ICC. Cameroon got themselves embarrassed in Geneva just a few weeks ago. They were ambushed because of the reports that you gentlemen are writing. So I'll begin with you before I get to SOS Zama to tell us how important is diplomacy, or how their work is helping to push your diplomatic efforts. So I would start with you, Barrister Mbeseha, so that this time you can really focus and talk to us in depth on some of these things that the government has done collectively, the government's approach. President Sako was not shying with his strategy to say, America is where I'm going to focus my diplomacy for now, but our friends can change. He said so last year, and a couple of people criticized him, but has that strategy gained traction this year? If so, what are some of it? What are some of the things that we can put in record that our diplomatic efforts would have helped Ambazonia as a people to move forward this year, 2024? I begin with you, Barrister Mbeseha.
Well, diplomacy is a very difficult thing, because it's not a war that you're going to see soldiers falling left and right. Before I get that, let me just remind us about what Barrister Nsoh said, and our chief security guy. He talked about urban guerrilla warfare. I want us to know that the war is transitioning into urban guerrilla warfare. Urban guerrilla warfare does not depend on how many battalions you have. It depends upon how many skillful people you have. And to the best of my knowledge, I have not known any country in the world that has successfully won an urban guerrilla warfare in the field. They end it by negotiations. And so what is happening in Bamenda should transition to other towns, and then make Cameroon realize that the two cubes of sugar are not dissolving. So urban guerrilla warfare go on. They will learn the lesson. But come back to what he talked about diplomacy. Diplomacy is not something that you see standing in the tree. Diplomacy, in fact, is about educating people. You educate your friends about your cause. You educate even your own opponents about what you're fighting for. Once they understand your problem, they will send you a helping hand in their actions to do what you want to do. Have we succeeded so much in this? I think we have succeeded to a point. And what is the evidence? It's not just the ICC that we're talking about. Let us go back a bit. There's a man who is so familiar with us, who is also a diplomat. This man they call Tribunage, who is a seasoned diplomat. He says many things. Sometimes we disagree with him. But he says some important things that we don't emphasize. When he left his diplomatic office, he said something about 6 months ago. He said, Ambazonia will get what it wants. That's a lot in diplomacy. He has seen the in and out. He has worked in Douala, in the consulate there. He worked in Yaoundé, in the embassy. They are the eyes and the ears of America on the ground. And so if he comes out to make that diplomatic stand, Ambazonia what it wants. He's not talking from, he's talking from seeing the actions that would take. Is there any other person, any other groups who has taken this positive move to American diplomats realize we were heading to? Only Sarkozy's government has done that. And so we can count that as one of our successes. Then we talk about the ICC. The ICC a million times over. It was not an accident. It was a result of work done. Work done seriously and dedicatedly. See, what has brought the ICC issue under debate now is Mr. Dr. Matsanga, who put out something, oh, I've sued Cameroon at the ICC. This man is not even a Cameroonian. He's a Ugandan, born in Kenya. But if you can go to that level, if that stranger could go in to do what he did, it means our cause are not falling on deaf ears. Did he do it? Yes. And for let us know. I have talked to him. I called him. I have his phone number. To find out what happened, he explained to me what he did. And I thought that is a sign of diplomacy that will have been noticed even by strangers. Because you and me can talk a million times. They will say they are singing the same song. When a stranger joins us in the choir, they say, yeah, that's a man from a different country. It will have some meaning. So diplomatically, I think we're succeeding. If you had the opportunity to watch the evidence given in Geneva when they were having hearings on Cameroon on torture, you see what they reserved for him, for Cameroon there. Where they asked, these guys talking there, prosecuting Cameroon, are not Cameroonians. They are not even Africans. They are reading from their computers. In other words, there's a big store somewhere with all this information inside. And as far as Ambazonia is concerned, they ask specifically, I found that they're hearing, what of raising down the villages in the northwest, in the Anglophone Cameroon? What of all those murders? Those people, it's not for nothing that the torture people hear those things. They mean a lot diplomatically. Because they convince the people who were not convinced. People did not understand. They understand our plight. And so that is where we are, I think, diplomatically. I don't want to call it Cameroon. I want to call it France. Because what we're going through was walked all the way from Paris. But Paris is now realizing that they cannot swallow this thing. It's impossible for a python to swallow a porcupine, what they call choking beef. It's impossible. Because Paris had worked out a program on how to assimilate Anglophones, as they call it. They gave Yaoundé, Ayinjo, and Paul Biya 10-year periods. In fact, the first 10 years, between 1961 and 1972, until 1968, there was a cable from France to Yaoundé. You are not assimilating these people fast enough. Because they did that, because they are funny up. In 1972, now they came out with the so-called referendum abolishing our institutions, thinking that they are not done it fast. Not just abolition by referendum, and they did. They gave them another 10 years after. Give them 10 years to see how this. Between 1972 and 1982, when Paul Biya came to power, the 10 years had finished. What did Paul Biya do? Paul Biya eliminated the United Republic of Cameroon and finally absorbed us as Northwest, Southwest. Nothing more, nothing less. And Dinka came out and told him, look, you people have quit the Union. And this is where we are today. And so diplomatic thing going on. Yaoundé, France had thought that they would do all those things and go unnoticed. But based on what we're reporting today, 2024, have they succeeded? No. Is the world watching us? Of course. I earlier talked about the Swiss-led initiative. Why? Why the Swiss? These are foreign countries. They were supported by foreign countries and organizations. Why? because they saw what was going on. They saw what was going on. It is still going on now, in spite of the attempts to derail the Swiss-led initiative in Canada 1, Canada 2, Canada 3. Emmons was succeeding diplomatically. Instead of just forgetting, they are run out of anything that they could do. There's nothing they can do anymore other than to negotiate. They negotiate today when Paul Biya is alive, or sooner tomorrow when he's no longer there. It's not 20 and 30 years to win. We have not yet reached the first decade. We have thrown heavy stones. We have actually gone more than what most.
What's going on?
Again,
I think by Mbeseha, we're having challenges with your sound. But I want to come now to you, by Fru, so that I can call by Mbeseha to rectify this situation. You were among those of us last year who took out time to talk with the people on situations that were contesting the government's approach in diplomacy when President Sako indicated it was a debate that he would rather cling more to the United States of America as a strategy of war at this time. Would you say 12 months past 2024 that was a strategy to reckon with based on our achievements? Barrister Fru, please.
I would say yes. I would say yes 1,000 times. And I want to tell you why. If he didn't take that position, I don't know where we would have been today. You know, our people and all of us who are Christians have always said this struggle is a God-ordained struggle. The events of the end of 2024 have made me to believe that God has a plan for our diplomacy. Dr. Sako has been placed to end this revolution, to lead this revolution by the Almighty God, because he took the right time and made the right declaration, and we're standing by it. Paddy, you will realize that since Biden came into power, anything that we have done diplomatically to our favor, we cannot attribute it to the Biden administration because they have ignored us for 4 years. Let's take our mind back. When President Trump was in his first term, what did he do for Ambazonia? He kicked out Cameroun from Agawa. He nullified the military accord between Cameroun and the United States. He instituted an arms embargo against Cameroon and withdrew most of the equipment, particularly those Apache helicopters that La République de Cameroun used on the 1st of October to slaughter 122 of our youths in Boya. He put an embargo on Cameroon. The French did not like that. They were still supplying Cameroon with arms clandestinely. They went to Equatorial Guinea and built a warehouse and stocked that warehouse with ammunition and equipment for Cameroon to use against Ambazonia. Guess what? I don't want to speculate who did it, but as God will have it, the whole thing was blown into ashes. End of 2024, the Democrats lost the election in the United States. And the same Trump is back into power. Like Barrister Mbeseha has said, diplomacy is quiet and it's very difficult to say what is happening if you are not of the inside. We are all watching and praying that it is God's work to have brought back Trump into power in the United States, and he will take up where he ended. Tibu Nash, as just cited by my colleague, Barrister Mbeseha, he said Ambazonia will have what they want.
Yeah.
Tibu Nash was an undersecretary for African Affairs under Trump. Trump is back into power. If Dr. Sarkozy got angry and left the United States and said, oh, the Democrats have not done this, the Democrats have not done this, we would lose out on what is happening now. Thank God he stayed the course. And I will argue that we will rise and fall with the United States on this matter. I am hoping and praying that President Trump will take off where he stopped, and the rest we can only predict. We won't say much. So Dr. Sarkozy succeeded. Dr. Sarkozy succeeded.
I want you both to speak again. I just want to add to what you're saying, Barrister Fru. You understand it's been 2 years now that our comrades have been in confinement.
Yes, I'm coming to that. I'm coming to that.
Okay.
I'm coming to that. 2024, this government launched the global initiative. That global initiative was one of the most successful diplomatic outreach that the government of the Southern Cameroon Ambazonia has undertaken. We made representation to the Attorney General of the United States about our colleagues detained in Kansas City, 3 of them. Very important members of our community, citizens of the United States, were being detained for no crime committed because they were doing the same thing that Ukrainian citizens living in the United States are doing, the Israeli citizens living in the United States are doing. So when this global initiative was launched and the Attorney General was received a petition from us, he reacted, his department reacted and said, oh, it was a civil matter, it was a political matter, which it was not understood, and this and that. But knowing the Biden administration, our people are still in jail. Our people are still in jail. What are they doing in jail? What are they doing in jail? That if you take the letter that they wrote to Dr. Mwongwa, which I had a copy I read, it's an indication that they have no case. But why are they still detaining our people in Kansas City? But that global initiative, that global push was one of the most important diplomatic outreach that this government undertook, and it was successful. Now we have Professor Hines advising the lawyers that are defending our people. Let's see. I was hoping that Even if Biden did nothing for us, he should include these three people in his preemptive pardon that I hear he's working on. But hey, we don't know what is happening. But our lobbyists and Professor Hines and Dr. Sako and others are working on the issue, and we are hoping that our people may be released from prison anytime soon, because it's the first time in my life, having studied law in America, that under the 14th Amendment, you cannot be detained in prison for more than 6 months renewable and still stay in prison without trial. These people have been in prison for more than 2 years, going to 3, and they have not had a day in court. Unheard of in the judicial history of the United States. But that is the Biden administration. As if because we are black people, why us? Why not Ukrainians? Why not Israelis? Why us? But that is not to water down our initiative. It was a very powerful initiative, and it has left the signs. We are hoping that if Biden makes the mistake of not releasing our people, Trump will release them. That is my hope. Thank you, Paddy.
That's amazing. Okay, I'll be coming now to you, Comrade Zama. I understand that this has been an elaborate conversation. We're moving into the last phase, but before we even go into that, we know what has happened. We have the Kansas City 3 without judgment, but a great achievement is the government proactive move. And just to prove, not just that, the case has been adjourned again because a judge that knows, you people are lawyers, you know that if a judge has a reason for a case, he trusts it. But when he keeps pushing it forward, it's just to give himself some time. Now, how is this enabling the efforts you're doing with the boys on the ground and vice versa? Maybe you should be in the position to talk on that, SOS Zama. Whatever is done in the diaspora, you have solicited for assistance a couple of times, you have spoken this evening. But the work also on the ground gives momentum to whatever is happening in the diaspora. Following this year's achievement, how would you say that has influenced the respect that Ambazonia is requesting as they knock doors? You're among those who are knocking doors to traveling around. We saw you in Washington during the situational meetings with the president. So how has this efforts on the ground influenced diplomacy and advocacy? Talk to us.
We are moving forward, and I know many people like the underdog. Ambazonia has always or was always the underdog. They underestimated our resolve. We are not winning this war because we have arms. We are not winning this war because we have supporters from abroad. No, we are winning this war because we are resolved. We are what we said. We've had enough of this, and we want to get out of this quagmire. We want to get out of the bondage. We want to get out of the enslavement. And our soldiers on the ground are doing that, despite the fact that some of them have had their parents picked up, have had their wife picked up. Some of them have even given birth in jails with their children still in jail, and some of them are being raped in jail. They've resolved and said, yes, I will give up my life for a betterment of our people. So these soldiers, why they are fighting as a ghost, or they are fighting as a uniform or group of soldiers, they are all putting their lives at stake for the betterment of Ambazonia, for the outlook of tomorrow to be better than what they've seen. We've struggled for 55 years under this system, and it's not been worth it. And given the fact that we are putting more pressure on La République, it's showing their weaknesses and their inability to be able to sustain this war. They are losing a lot of investors. Their government bonds have been declared probably like a junk bond. They downgraded it too low that they cannot get any loans from abroad without really paying a high interest. Nobody wants to give it to them because they don't have the money to pay the interest on the loans. So at this point, we are really winning, and we are really winning handsomely in the fact that we are putting the pressure on the La République, and they are not paying their soldiers. Right now, they have a lot of people who are not being paid, teachers, doctors. I was just in Quebec the other day, and you go to Quebec, if you look at 30 doctors, you can say 20 of them are from Cameroon. The nurses are the same, teachers are the same. So we are losing the creme de la creme of Cameroon society in this war. They are not being paid. Yeah, they'll take their skills somewhere else. We are gonna call out the best of them and send them abroad. That's not a problem. But at the end of the day, the pressure that our soldiers are putting, and that is only gonna be put up another notch or two come 2025. La République is going to succumb at that point. They are really wobbling at this point, fighting this fight. We're just going to expose them even more with what we are going to be trying to do in 2025. And that should influence our policy, foreign policy too, diplomacy regarding what the other people are seeing outside. What are they interpreting from our fight? La République had told them everywhere, even in Geneva, that it's just a bunch of hoodlums robbing people and all whatnot. They've shown them that all the things that they've been doing. They've been burning villages. They've been killing people. So those are all symptoms of a genocidal war that's going on, and they've not been able to justify or to say that is anything other than that. We are not the ones saying it. Outside people are saying it. NGOs are saying it, and with now Cameroon itself, their journalists are beginning to understand. Michel Bientong is talking about it, and other web journalists are talking about these things in the true light of it as it is. It's a genocide that they're trying to do. We have to fight this war of attrition, and that's why we are telling our people they say we will go on top of the hills. They are going mountains and valleys, but the highs will be high and the lows will be very low. And when those times are very low, we should seek to ourselves and comfort each other. It's a time that war is no pretty sight. We've been desensitized by the number of people who are killed and thrown anywhere in the streets like dogs. But we are going to go over that. We are going to get a civil society that values humans. And that's why we are fighting for. And I want everybody who's gone through all the trauma that it's going to get better. It's not going to get any worse. For those who are sitting and say, I wish we could go back to that. There's no going back to it. We've crossed the Rubicon and we are not going back. That's why we are fighting this fight, and we are putting more effort. We are doing everything we can for all of those people who are abroad, who are not contributing to this war, or who are not. We do not need your money. We need your expertise. We need every other thing if you cannot contribute money. But at the end of the day, we will get Ambazonia. Ambazonia, that's Dean, or that's up to the task of saying, yes, we are all children of Ambazonia, and we have civilized Ambazonians. And I think as the days goes on, the world will be seeing more and more of Ambazonia. Before, they used to say northern and southern, or northwest and southwest, but now they are calling the name Ambazonia. Even I was reading Frank Venkat, they were talking about Ambazonia. So they are coming. They will come up to speed when time goes on. They will come up to speed, and that will show.
Now, you're talking about diplomacy, diplomatic partners, what is happening on the ground, achievements, blah, blah, and all of this, who to partner with, what foreign policies in Africa, Africa getting new partnership with China, France being kicked out of West Africa. But a big nation in Africa, Nigeria, is bringing them through the back door, re-establishing business ties with them. And there's this scholar, diplomat in Nigeria, who is kind of concerned. He's seriously concerned. And we have this extract from the morning show of Arise Television. I want us to watch this. It's critical for us to look at this very closely because Nigeria, as a major party in the Gulf of Guinea and a neighbor of Ambazonia,
Paddy, can
has
I
a
just,
lot.
Paddy, let me make a contribution before we go to the next segment. Something important to say about what just passed.
Right.
See, it's important for us to know. We live in America, but so has explained why it is important that we're here in the United States. It's strategically important. But we live in the United States. We must understand how the United States politics works, especially foreign issues. You look for what they have not said or done more than what they have done. This struggle has gone on for 80 years and has passed through two successive Democratic and Republican political leaders in the United States. Look at the fine print of what they have not done. It started in 2016 with the coming of Donald Trump. He didn't start the war, but it came there. Under the administration of Donald Trump, they identified the problem so well. We said, they realized what it was. They're the one who defined the problem. Go to the conference table without preconditions and address the root causes. That was Donald Trump. He left office. The new president did not change that policy. That is continuing policy in the United States. In 2017, Yaoundé did everything to make the American government, where we were based and contributing money, to brand us a terrorist group. They, under Trump, did not brand us any terrorist group. The Biden administration has not changed from that. And so you see a continuity as far as foreign policy is concerned. And I give you an example. All of us who know history know that for many years, decades, Cuba was on the terrorist group of the United States until Barack Obama came to power. That was a Democrat. In spite of the Marco Rubio work from Canada, who were from Cuba, he did everything. Barack Obama, a Democrat, said an end to that. He opened the embassy in Cuba. That was a Democrat. After that, Trump came with all the noise. He did not rebrand Cuba a terrorist. They are continuing. They have not closed the embassy in Cuba. So there is continuing policy in the United States. So, as we live here, we must understand that we'll be changing from Democrats to Republicans and vice versa. And
I like that contribution that you have made. It was very important that you highlight that.
Yeah.
Because
So
like
we
we
know
said,
that.
diplomacy is a very shaky water, and we need to move with it with a lot of diligence and vigilance. That's very good.
Yeah, because there are things that Democrats will change.
But Biden brought beer to Washington.
Let me finish making my point.
Biden brought beer to Washington.
Like the next Trump. Let me finish my point now. You can bring him. I've said this many times before. The presence of the U.S. embassy in Yaoundé was not based on Ambazonia. They created an embassy there for a different reason. So the fact that we're fighting Yaoundé, as I've always said, we're not going to make Yaoundé the enemy of America because of Ambazonia. No.
No.
But as far as our struggle is concerned, that's where I am. Yaoundé will still maintain its embassy in Yaoundé. Even tomorrow, if we become independent the next hour, he might have another embassy in Boya. Or they maybe have an embassy in Yaoundé that will serve southern Cameroon and Cameroon. They do that. That's not our problem. They can bring and house him in the best hotel here. Our issue is Biden, which I've said, has not changed the American policy towards Ambazonia as a foreign policy. We're not yet a terrorist group defined by Yaoundé. They have not changed the idea that they must go and sit down and talk this thing over the table. No matter how long it takes, which is what our defense man just said, they will go to this conference table. And that would mean that when we go to that conference table, having known what America does, this is strategy which I wanted to say later. Our people will go to the table, must look for those who will witnesses to whatever agreement they want to take. And those witnesses are the ones that will enforce the agreement that we ever reach there. They must include the United States, like the Green Tea Agreement. They must include France. They must include the UK, and of course the United Nations. These are the parties.
The good news about it is that, Mbeseha, you probably will be advising, and many others will advise who to select and how to select. And that's a discussion that is going to be important for people to discuss. Our interest here.
Yes, so let me just end there. That's how it works. That's how it works. And let me conclude. I mentioned Canada, whatever the pre-talks. The worst mistake our brothers and sisters when they made was they were trying to negotiate. They had a different idea, but they were negotiating something without a witness who would enforce it. Canada could not enforce the agreement, knowing what Cameroun is, knowing what France is. So they sat there with all their big hope, thinking that they were doing something. Even if they signed an agreement that was not going to be enforced because they were not respected. And so this is America where we are. We must tap into their roots, no matter it is a Democrat or a Republican. I said earlier, before the election, I said, come January, we'll find somebody there who will either be a Democrat or a Republican. And so we learn to live with them rather than castigate them.
That's amazing.
That's how they will do.
So let's put Barrister Mbeseha. Where I want us to move forward is, as we're projecting 2025, Ambazonia is looking forward to how the global politics is changing. In stakeholders are taking decisions that could affect us directly or indirectly. And it's important for us to educate ourselves, see how people react to things differently. And I have this clip, which I want us all to watch. That's where we're going to conclude tonight's conversation. But I'd like us to watch it very closely and try to understand the mind of this statesman who is vehemently rejecting France in Nigeria. Let's watch.
Quite a lot to unbundle from that state visit to France by President Bola Tinubu. For that and a whole lot more, we are now being joined by Professor Usman Yusuf, a former Executive Secretary of the National Health Insurance Scheme. Good morning, Professor, and welcome to the show.
Thank you very much for having me today.
Thank you for joining us. Now let's go straight into it. This Nigeria-France relationship is not a new relationship, and it's a significant one. France is our biggest trade partner in Europe, and we're their biggest in sub-Saharan Africa. It's a $5 billion relationship. But France is courting a new bride now that the Francophone countries like Senegal, Chad, Niger and Mali are abandoning, their former colonial masters and looking for newer relationships. However, Nigeria is using this as an opportunity to deepen our ties with France. What positives do you see from this relationship, particularly when it comes to security and our economy? And also, it was said yesterday that Nigeria signed an MOU with France in the mining space. Do you believe that this is going to have positive outcomes for the country?
No. To be honest, I'm terribly nervous, and every Nigerian should be. Okay, let's look at our relationship with France, past, present, and the future. So when France has been in all these Francophone African countries, West Africa, for 66 years, and they've been kicked out. They've been kicked out of recently Chad, Senegal, Mali, Niger, Burkina Faso, five of your neighbors kicked the colonial master, and all of a sudden you are hugging that person. There is something you guys know that we don't know. But let's look at the history of France in Africa or anywhere else in the world. It's not been good. Look at all these countries. You need to ask yourself, why was France kicked out of those places? They were literally sucking their resources. And there is no development in any of these countries, any. You go to Chad, you go to Mali, you go to Burkina Faso, you go to Niger, there is nothing to see, but they've been sucking their uranium and gold. All of a sudden, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu is in this love fest with Macron and France. We're asking ourselves why. What do we have in common with France? Literally nothing. You look at our history with France, France has been one of the major countries that was opposed to a united Nigeria. France opposed the formation, the creation of ECOWAS. France opposed the creation and sabotaged the creation of a single ECOWAS currency, the ECO. And France literally sabotaged ECOWAS by this young military hunters leaving ECOWAS, Mali, Niger, and Burkina Faso. ECOWAS is now just a shell. Wherever France is not good. Mr. President, you are not talking to Nigerians. You remember after the coup in Niger? Nigeria, the president had just started, he had not even assembled his team. Or he said, we're going to attack France, we're going to attack Niger. And I'm sure prodded by France. We in the north resisted vehemently. We are not going to allow Nigeria to invade Niger because the fight was going to be a proxy war. America, the United States of America, had one of the biggest drone bases in Agadas, in Niger. Yeah, this thing was, they're going to fight Islamists and all that. No. Insecurity has been much worse where you have foreign bases by this foreign countries. The reason France is cozying to Nigeria and President Bola Ahmed Tinubu is allowing them to, and we will resist, is because they are looking for a place to situate their military base after being kicked out. We in the north, which is a place they are looking to locate these bases, we in the north will vigorously resist any foreign military boot on our soil. So, Mr. President, you need to know, we do not have any historical ties, defense or economic or linguistic with France. And all this causing the French are doing, the reception they gave Mr. President was fit for a king. He will not get that if he goes to England or the United States or anywhere in the world. What is France getting for that? France wants three things. One, it wants right to concessions to exploit our minerals, which are predominantly in the north, which is what they've been doing in Niger, Mali, and Burkina Faso. Number two, they want concessions in oil and gas. That's why they said, I heard the spokesman of the president saying, Total is going to invest 750 million in gas. And I ask myself, is this true or is this fiction? Because this same Total, 16 months ago in July, exited Nigeria and sold all its stake at 860 million to a Mauritius-based company and left. Their reasons were sabotage, theft, oil spillage, and high cost of lawsuits. So what has changed in 16 months that they're coming back again? After selling 860 million and left town, they're coming to invest 750 million, we were told. It's not going to happen. So they're looking for three things. They are looking to come and exploit our mineral resources predominantly in the north. They are looking to explore oil and gas, which they ran away from, and they are coming. And number three, most importantly, most worrying, and everybody in Nigeria, I beg you to lend me your ears. We will resist vehemently any attempt by President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's government to allow any foreign military base on our soil, particularly in the north, because it's going to be a harbinger of trouble. All these lacura things you're hearing, it is the French that started all of these things. They started all of these things. Wherever France was in West Africa, there's no peace. Why would President Bola Ahmed Tinubu bring them back without consulting anybody? So, military base, France or America or any country will be resisted vigorously by all of us, because this is a country we love, and we're not going to allow recolonization of this Nigeria like they've done in the other countries. In Hausa, there is a saying, in kaga gemu dan uwanka ya kama wuta, ka sa naka ruwa. If you see the beard of your neighbor catches fire, put water, dampen water on yours. Well, France has put fire all over the Sahel, and we are inviting them into our household. No, we are not going to do that. Business, do that. And it has to go through due process. And I'm calling on our sleepy, do-nothing 10th Assembly to wake up to its responsibility. They are the ones we elected. They are the ones who should checkmate President Bola Ahmed Tinubu in all the opaque things he's been doing. He disappears into France for working holiday, and nobody knows what he's going to do there. Like he's being called for consultation. This is a democracy, not a military rule. And we need to know what our government and our president is taking us into. But foreign military base is a no-no. And exploiting our mineral resources behind our back is not going to happen. It's going to be transparent, there's going to be open bid, and all of us stakeholders must be involved in this. Thank you very much.
Okay, so Professor Usman, thank you so much for your submissions this morning. But let's even lean further into the geopolitical implications of this relationship, considering the current rivalry between Western powers and China for influence in the global South. How does Nigeria's embrace of France fit into this dynamic? Could this partnership position Nigeria as a critical player in balancing global power, or is there a risk in alienating other potential allies such as China or Russia?
Right. That is what Nigeria is just going to be used as a pawn. And it's essentially sticking out our neck and giving it to them. And the fight is not between the West and China. No, the fight is between the West and Russia. Look at what just happened in Syria. Look at just what happens in Syria. The rebels took over Aleppo. Look at what's happening in Ukraine. Look at what's happening in Israel. It's going to be a proxy war between between NATO and Russia. Because all these French West African countries, they are inviting Russia after kicking America, after kicking China. So it's going to be a proxy war, and we are not going to be part of it. We are going to resist it, especially all of us in the North that are going to bear the full brunt of any recklessness of bringing any foreign food on our soil. We're not going to accept it. So China is it's not about China. It's about United States, NATO, and Russia. So, Mr. President, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, you are elected by us. You must speak to us. You are not going to commit us to any foreign military presence in the Federal Republic of Nigeria. And whatever investments you do must be vetted by our sleepy 10th Assembly. They must wake up. But I call on all Nigerians, particularly our elders, our governors, our National Assembly, our traditional rulers and clerics, to look, danger is coming. Our Mr. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's romance with France is no good news for Nigeria. Thank you.
All right, Prof. Thanks for your submissions so far. Some people might see it as a bit alarming. Others might think that it is largely speculative. But then I'd like to remind you of what Adesua started with, the relationship that Nigeria had with France, particularly after the Civil War, given the fact that, it was the side of Biafra that France was. But of course, the relationship developed in a way, in a positive way after that. So my question to you is that how will you want President Bola Ahmed Tinubu to embrace France, which, as you were reminded earlier, is our biggest trade partner in the EU, as we are their biggest trade partner, in Africa? Don't forget, sir, that Emmanuel Macron was in Nigeria in 2018, received by former President Buhari in Abuja and received by former Governor Akinwumi Ambode in Lagos. Beautiful relationship on display. Before then, Olusegun Obasanjo, General, was the president when democracy returned at that time, had Jacques Chirac in Abuja. He went to France too, the same way that Bola Tinubu has gone to France, was also very warmly received, and business relationship developed. Why do you think that it will be a different case with Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu as the president, given the fact that not just trade, but core component of the relationship that is being built is the security angle? You made reference to Lacra and the dangers that they portend. If there will be ways in which we can work with France to stem that tide, wouldn't you encourage it?
Right, and that's the scary part, Steve. If France could help any country with security, why didn't he help Mali? Why didn't he help Niger? Why didn't he help Burkina Faso? Why didn't he help Chad? It's been there forever. Their troops have been there forever. You think it didn't help them with all their bases? It's going to help you? Steve, let's wake up. Only Nigeria can help itself by liberating itself from these colonial forces that are doing nothing but stirring trouble in the Sahel. Doing nothing but stirring trouble in the Sahel. So for anybody to think France is coming to help us with security is deluding himself. The biggest problem we will have is this. And this is what President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, his misfiring of how to handle the situation after the coup in Niger is the one increasing more insecurity coming to Nigeria. Because Niger and Chad and Cameroon, they've been doing a lot of heavy lifting on our behalf, fighting Boko Haram and bandits and ISWAP. Now, you're not going to talk to them, you're fighting them, they lift their feet off the brakes, and these guys roll in. France is not going to help you with that. The only thing that will help you with this Lacra nonsense, this uptick we are seeing in Lacra is suspect. I'll tell you. I had the other day, the spokesperson of the defense headquarters in Nigeria saying, in his press briefing, say Lacrawas, they are new, they are related to the coup in Niger. Hello, Mr. Spokesperson, you should know better. These Lacrawa, as we know today, have been around in this country, a sovereign Nigeria, non-state actors from Mali or from wherever came to Nigeria. They've been here for 7 years. 7 years, since 2017, at the invitation of local communities to help them fight bandits, to help them do the job that security services could not do. They came under the nose of the federal government, under the nose of the state government, under the nose of all security services, under the nose of all our intelligence services. And now all of a sudden we are doing this. The question to ask Nigerians should be asking is, why did we allow a non-state actor to come into Nigeria, settle, and continue its activities for the past 7 years? And why all of a sudden are we saying, oh, Lacra, just to give a reason for France to come in? That is the only reason. Fellow Nigerians, you can never stop this Lacra, Boko Haram, and all these bandits, all these terrorists, if you don't have good relationship with your neighbors. Not France. Bringing France in is going to make us into a hotbed for terrorism, is going to make us poorer, is going to make us second-class citizens. They will open a base in Katsina State and be digging our gold, and I cannot go there as a person from Katsina. We've seen that in Niger, we've seen that in Mali. This is what they have been doing. So fellow Nigerians, we should open our eyes. We in the north will vigorously resist any attempt by President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's government to allow foreign military bases on our soil. End of story. I don't know how else to say it.
Okay, Professor Usman. Now,
Professor Osman, you did say that if we allow France in, that Nigeria can become a hotbed for terrorism. But some people would argue that it already is, that, that the northern governors, for example, have not focused on human capital development, that we have extremism in different parts of the country, that the economic situations right now is what makes Nigeria a hotbed for terrorism, and not a possible growing trade relation with France, but also focusing on the geopolitical implications that Shaitan brought into the conversation earlier. We did speak about Russia, and we also have to speak about the Wagner Group, because you spoke about the proxy war going on in Ukraine between Russia and the West. However, some people argue that there is a proxy war going on in Africa between Russia and the West. We have the Wagner Group in Mali, in Niger, in Burkina Faso. They have, of course, rebranded from the Wagner Group, but they are under the Russian military corps. And you also had France in those countries. As of February of this year, we also had Russia being in control of Mali's Intaka gold mine. So we do have Russian interests in Western Africa in our minds. And so is it not already a situation that our neighbors are dealing with their own proxy wars and extraction of their resources by either Russia or the West? And rather than be in that type of situation, our president is trying to position us as a trade partner and not a partner to be extracted from.
Trade partner, how much is he getting from France? 750 million, they say, investment by Total. For goodness sake, that's paltry sum for a country like Nigeria. The other day they went to Qatar. How much did they say they got? 600 million, and Qatar denied that. The other day, Saudi Arabia, they said 800 million. All of these investments, less than $1 billion for a country like Nigeria. This is paltry. Why is Nigeria not attracting the big investment that it is worthy of? A Nigeria that has a very large population, a Nigeria that is very rich, a Nigeria that has a very educated population. Why are we not attracting big investment? So to tell me you went to France and got 750 million, that's an insult. Or Saudi Arabia 800 million, or Qatar 600 million. The president himself, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, demarketed Nigeria twice in Doha. Remember when they went, he said there is corruption. And he warned the Qatari delegates, if anybody asks you for a bribe, come and tell me. Hello, Mr. President. Thank you for demarketing your country. And at G20, you heard what he was saying. There is insecurity, there is hunger, there is this, there is this. You are the chief marketing officer of your country, and you are demarketing the country. I will tell you, real countries that want to invest, they invest in DR Congo and all troubled spots. They factor in all these crises, and they even get insurance for all of this to come into place and pillage the country and leave. So, real investment, we want to see real investment that translate into bettering the lives of our people. We haven't seen that so far. All the loans they've been getting, the World Bank loans, the Chinese loan, where are we seeing that? It's not impacted on the people. It's not helped the Naira. It's not brought inflation down. But they're getting loans all over the place. Just a few days ago, they got a loan of 2.2 billion. They got approval from the House, from the Senate, from the National Assembly. It took only 48 hours for the do-nothing National Assembly to give him approval, go and get loans. For what? For what? He is proposing a bill of 47.9 billion. And the collection agencies that make money, they said they have collected 51 trillion so far. So far. So why are you getting all this money? To do what? He gets all these loans, and the National Assembly does not ask him what are these loans for, and we do not see the benefit. So we must question, especially in a situation where we're worried there is a state capture by the president and his business associates that we do not. You see them signing MOUs in France. On whose behalf? On whose behalf? Definitely not on my behalf, not on my grandmother's behalf. They are not in government. Nobody knows about these guys. You see them signing on behalf of Nigeria, state capture. You have your business associates running this country. Nobody can tell me how much FIRS has collected, or how much customs, or how much this, or how much this. Nobody knows what comes in, what goes out. And the reason is because our National Assembly is complicit, is there in bed with this bad governance. This cannot continue. We must all wake up. Investment from France is not going to solve our problem. Get investment wherever you're going to get investment. But we are very nervous with this love fest between our president and France and his prime minister. It's a harbinger of bad things to come because of France's history around us. And we cannot trust France or any country without security. Doing that will be foolhardy. And you said,
full stop.
That is tough. That is tough.
Barrister Mbeseha. I have watched this 5 times. Why they are worried, they are asking. You see, I love Professor Usman Yusuf, because he is never in playing with the government. Last year, he was very vocal when Bola Ahmed Tinubu, just coming into office, was doing everything to wage a war against Niger for kicking out France. Now, why they're asking the question, what's the force behind France-Nigeria relations? We as Ambazonians, we're asking the question, what is the geopolitical implication of this France-Nigeria romance? If there's anything you have to hurt him, he has laid down a foundation. He has spoken far and wide. The breadth and depth of his conversation gives a good foundation for us to see the danger of France. And he is speaking with no twist in his mouth. France has been a bad partner for 66 years. And it is unacceptable how France is rebranding, re-strategizing, and using a major. We have a great interest when it comes to Nigeria and what is happening in the Gulf of Guinea. Gentlemen, you just have to speak. We're going to talk on 3 things. But I want you to look at the geopolitical implications here. We'll talk about how France sabotages initiatives that will jeopardize their interests. And you saw the example of ECOWAS. He sabotaged the ECO currency. We're now seeing France trying to plant military camps. Amazing. Barrister Fru, I'll begin with you, please.
If you look at the geopolitics of Nigeria, almost 2/3 of Nigeria is in the Sahel. Tinubu is from Lagos, is a Yoruba man. And you want to go to France, negotiate with France to come and put military bases in the Sahel? It is the same fight that took place when Tinubu wanted to use ECOWAS to attack Niger. The fight has started all over. And I can tell you, France is not coming near Nigeria as long as that northern part, which I call 2/3 of Nigeria, is concerned, because 2/3 of Nigeria is in the Sahel. And France has done its worst in the Sahel. Why do you think the northerners who are closer to Niger, Mali, and Burkina Faso will allow the French to come and put their bases in northern Nigeria and exploit minerals in northern Nigeria? It's not going to happen. Tinubu, if he's not careful, that is the end of his presidency if he tries it. Because Nigeria is an unpredictable society. You go down to the south, even to the south, and question people about France and hear the reaction. It's not a positive reaction for France. Why is France so desperate to come back to Nigeria, proposing Total, that Seoul is interested in Nigeria for 86 billion naira, is coming back to put 75 billion naira. Who will accept that? In corporate management, who will accept that? Why did they run away in the first place? They are coming for the French want to put military bases in Nigeria to be able to contain the Sahel. It's not going to work. It cannot work because France has lost the Sahel, 5 countries. Burkina Faso, Mali, Niger, Chad, and of course, Senegal. Why would Nigeria accept France to have its neighbors, enemies to France, and they will be friendly to France? Is that possible? Let's wait and see.
Well, let's wait and see. SOS Zama, please talk to us.
Well, the French, whenever they have these difficulties, you could see what they did in Southeast Asia when they lost Laos, they lost Vietnam, and all that. And when they lost,
look at that idiot.
1958 to 59, they knew that was it for them. They had one more area they had to do. That's why they fought in Cameroon, the Maquisards. They fought everything they could, because that's their fight in Cameroon was what was later on established as the Francafrique. The roadmap they used in Cameroon is the roadmap they used everywhere else. They are pushing them out of these countries in the Sahel, is gonna take away everything that they have, that they've been having for free. The uranium, now they are cutting out lights in the Eiffel Tower. It used to be there 24 hours. They are rationing light, and it's coming to that point where they don't have enough uranium. They are using spent rods to run their nuclear plants. But at the end of the day, they need the raw material to keep it churning. And France is not as competitive as it is around the world. How many French products do you see around the world? Apart from champagne and perfume and a few other things, some scientific...
and Martini. And my Martini.
We understand that the French have been a parasite in the stomachs of Africans, and it will be pitiful if Mr. Tinubu accepts France to establish a base. What we have to understand that most countries, why they establish bases in most countries, they establish bases to control those countries. You can see what happens in Cyprus, where it's controlled mostly by Turkey. You can see what's happening in the West Bank, controlled by Israel. You can see what's happening in Lebanon, controlled by Hezbollah. You can see by Iran. You can see what's happening in Germany, controlled based on the bases that are established by the US, which is all over. In Okinawa, is the same thing. So a country having a base in your country that excludes you, even as a president, to trespass over that property, it seems like they've just seized a portion of your land without war, and you sign it over to them in this pretext of exploitation. Those things happen all over Africa, and I think an advanced country and a big educational country like Nigeria should not stand for that. And I hope the youth of Nigeria, because this is a youth problem. If the youth go to sleep, then they will be sleeping for a long time. The French are a very parasitic society. The French are a very parasitic country. They're going to sap them out. They think they have problems now. Wait until the French settle in there. Then they will know what it is. We've known them all this while. No development happens. They will just go to a stalemate. And They'll create these wars and put people against each other while they are stealing all the things they can steal. That's what they are good at. And I think we have their modus operandi and we should stop it. Nigeria should stop it. And I think it's not Tinubu, it's the youth. The youth, like they did in Kenya, should come out in grand mass and stop this nonsense from even going any further. Total should be expelled. Total has not been a good steward of the land. It spills petroleum all over. It doesn't want to clean it up. And why do they have to come back? I don't see any reason why Total should come back in Nigeria. They've been a very bad corporate partner in Nigeria, and I don't think it's worthwhile to deal again with them. As I said, Nigerian youth, it's on your court. If you go asleep, you'll be sleeping for a long time in your own proverbial shit.
Nigerian youth, the ball is on your court. By Mbeseha. You see, one thing, like I said, the geopolitical implications of the recent romance between France and Nigeria. Nigeria's is a major market for the future Ambazonia and even current Ambazonia. I remember when we used to buy rice from Bamenda to sell in Nigeria, Bono, in the Cameroons to sell in Nigeria. In fact, Nigeria is a huge market. And when you're talking about France's interest in fuel, you can't exclude Bakassi that belongs to Ambazonia. This is something, that's why we have a great interest with the way Nigeria is being run on several issues, because by indirect methods it could impact us, and France is directly enhancing the war in Ambazonia. So it's like a sandwich from the east of the Mongo and then from Nigeria. So France has a greater interest than just Nigeria with whatever Tinubu is doing. So it's a kind of, it's a great concern, which I think we need to look at it critically. Vice Mbeseha, please. Vice Mbeseha, are you there? Vice Mbeseha, is your connection okay now?
I think he's having challenges.
Okay, Vice Mbeseha, why you try to log in to come in there? I would like to follow him because I really like to hear from Barrister Mbeseha. Barrister Fru, coming again. We're talking about war on the ground. It's quite important.
Yes. Look, you've just raised an issue. You've just raised an issue that I ignored. You know, yes, Bakassi is a bed. Nigeria is drilling on this side, and we are supposed to be drilling on the other side.
Yeah.
The bed between the southern Cameroon and Nigeria, the Bakassi Peninsula, that is a bed. And if we don't drill, Nigeria will drill all of it, and the oil will move on the ground. But it's not going to happen. The French have an interest in Nigeria, not only because of Nigeria. It includes the Gulf of Guinea in general. The French foresee La République de Cameroon losing the Gulf of Guinea to us. And their only partner to ensure that they don't lose out is Nigeria. They will be drilling from the side of Nigeria very fast, and then they will be extracting minerals from northern Nigeria, like the Professor Yusuf said, and they will be back into business in Africa. With Nigeria alone, France does not need any other African country to stay afloat. If this man, this old man greeting this young man, succeeds in selling off Nigeria to France, West Africa is in deep shit, particularly the Gulf of Guinea and the Sahel, the part of Nigeria that is in the Sahel. They will turn it into a drilling mine, a drilling field. Like the professor said, if a Hausa man speaks, listen to him. like the professor said, it will not happen. And I believe him. Thank you.
That's an important contribution you have made there. Barrister Mbeseha, have you been able to rectify? Now, if Barrister Mbeseha has not rectified, I want us to conclude with you, SOS Zama, on this issue, because it has to do with the war we are fighting. As we speak right now, Cameroonian army is in Tarh Paddy. I speak to you right now. We have people on the ground trying to give Christmas gifts to refugees, and that's not your problem. The Cameroon army is illegally in Nigeria. So Nigeria is a hub where the Cameroon army do whatever they want. So it's like a sandwich of this small, rich oil nation that's fighting for their independence. I'm talking about the Southern Cameroons. So France trying to plant a military base is also eyeing Ambazonia, and that's where my concern is in this whole thing. If France wants to mortgage their resources, that's their whole business. I'm talking about us being sandwiched, which is of great interest. SOS Zama, talk to us.
I think we do understand that La République soldiers are in...
Pause a little bit. It's like Barrister Mbeseha has successfully come back. Barrister Mbeseha, please, let's give you the mic before SOS Zama concludes. Are you there now?
No, it's not.
We are missing you. Okay, SOS Zama, please.
Well,
yes,
Nigeria and France, they are very... I think that they are two incompatible partners. As much as that's been said by Professor Youssef, they don't have no linguistic commonality, they don't have no cultural commonalities, and everything is going to be out of whack. Given the fact that France is not competitive around the world, Africa is the only place that they are competitive. And they are competitive by their bribery, by their underhanded manner of doing business. If you know, I think it's Chirac who said, France without Africa will be like a third world country. And recently, a French parliamentarian had said, the way Macron has let Africans' eyes open is going to make their children come down to Africa to look for their bread, daily bread in the next 20 to 30 years. And we see that that's happening. We see French people going out and working in Morocco, and it's already happening. But eventually, that's just a development of things, the market forces. But what's going on with the French and Nigeria in West Africa? It's just a cesspool of incestuous relationships that has happened. They'll crown families and then pit the whole families, or they pit the one region against the other. They will do that, and that's the only way they can control those areas. They don't do it in the Middle East because the Arabs have understood how the Europeans play these games over a period of time. Africans have not understood that. They are still taking the Europeans to be friendly. They are not. They are out for something, and they are out to get it. If you let them in, they'll take everything they have to take with no payments. We can see how much they squandered the resources of Mali, Burkina Faso. Look at what Burkina Faso have been able to construct after the French left. It's been more than like 10, 30 years development that they've had in 1 year of Traore's rule in Burkina Faso. Same in Mali, same in Niger. So we can see how this thing it just strangulates these people, and it strangulates their economy and strangulates everything, and nothing works. So if they get rid of these French people, the better it is for Africans. I think French Africa has really retarded the growth of Africans. If you look at the population, it's about close to 400 million in that area who are French speakers. So it's really holding back Africa. And I think if they pull their weight, Africa will be uplifting a lot of people out of poverty.
If we cannot still get Barrister Mbeseha, I would have loved to hear his side on this whole thing. but it's a discussion that we may have the chance to continue as we begin the year. Also, we'll be analyzing the president's speech. I just would like to announce to you that pre-analysis of the president's speech on Tuesday, that's 31st, ushering us into the year 2020. We're going to be live for at least 5 hours till midnight. We hope to have the Secretary of State for Communication. We'll be having the Secretary of State for the Women's Department, the Department of Women's Services. We also have some actors of government that will brief us on certain achievements of government prior to the president's address of this year 2024. That's the end of year's address. So there's a lot for us to talk. The president, just to remind you, you would have seen on that publicity, will be addressing the nation at exactly 8 p.m. Ambazonia time. We understand that a couple of people at the home front, I've just received a screenshot right now of one of the persons trying to get to see if people can be connected at the home front. We are aware that some of you cannot get images. We're working with a satellite company this weekend to make sure that that situation is rectified and facilitated upon at 10 a.m. Ambazonian time. Please, we want those who are volunteers to work with us as we'll be doing testing with this satellite company Monday morning. That about 2 a.m. No, sorry, that will be about 3 or 4 a.m. Eastern time. That's my time. Washington time, I'll be awake to help you. So if you are watching us now and you want us to help you with your connectivity, just stay awake so that you'll be given directives by the satellite company on to do that. It's been a wonderful evening, Barrister Fru. Unfortunately, on this very instrumental topic, SOS Zama, we were unable to get the view of Barrister Mbeseha. I wish to have you people again on Tuesday for the pre and post analysis of the president's speech.
Hello.
Which we are working.
Yeah, we shall be there.
Barrister Mbeseha, can you hear me? It's unfortunate we can't hear you. We have we've gone way overboard with our time. For this analysis, it's way overboard. But it has been an interesting conversation, and there was no better way for us to have concluded it. It's quite important that we having you. I just want to seize this opportunity to thank all those who have been helping ABC Amba TV expand their horizon, reach out to many more people, impact lives all around the world. Just the few minutes that you're cut off air really tells us how important we are. The cause I didn't have Christmas because I was receiving calls from the home front, trying to get people connected. Everybody wants to watch Ambazonia Broadcasting Corporation. That is a good feedback for me. It's simply telling us that whatever we are doing, we're doing something that is pleasing to you and you're enjoying our efforts. You just trying to watch us is a great encouragement. We've received calls from Southern Africa, from East Africa, from West Africa. In fact, we had people in Nigeria today that were calling us, trying for us to give them directives to make sure that they can get connected before the 31st of December, which is amazing. So we applaud you very much. We want to encourage you to continuously make your contribution. As we are gaining grounds, we're expanding like never before. Our achievements are baffling. I wish we'll have the opportunity to tell you the greater heights that we're having. The president's speech will be translated in Spanish, in Portuguese, in French, and in Pidgin English, as always. We were hoping that we will be adding another language, but so much to do this end of the year, and we were unable to do that. ABC has moved on to greater heights. As we speak right now, we will be planting other studios in different parts of the world We hope in 2025 to start the Portuguese and the Spanish news and the French news. The anchor persons are on standby, just waiting for us to press the button and to say they're on the mask and ready to run with a vision. You have people that are so passionate to make sure this happens. So this, if there's any time that your support is very needed, is highly needed and much appreciated, that time is now. We're calling out those who are still seeking to subscribe. Try to continue with the subscription. Give us feedback. A couple of people have been able to subscribe with the website. If you're facing some challenges, do not hesitate to let us know. Send us screenshots so that the platform can be expanded upon, improved upon, and you have the leverage to do it. We are sworn with this vision to give you the best that the world requires at this time. Our objective is to make sure that every multimedia platform that meets the standards of modern day broadcasting, we will get that for you. And Ambazonia is up to the task. Like the president said, he says ABC Amba TV is one of the weapons that the Cameroon government is so afraid. We have intelligence that they are working so hard to make sure that they can intercept the president's speech on the 31st of December. We are also working relentlessly to make sure that they will fail in that mission. Failed project. They will not succeed in it. So get ready to join us on time by 7 p.m. Ambazonian time. We should be live with some ambience, talking on some serious issues around the place. We may open the phone lines after the president's address for people to express themselves. We will try to get some pastors ready for prayers just before midnight. We're going to be streaming until midnight. So it's going to be an interesting time on ABC, and we hope to have you all be a part of it. It's been the last Ambazonia this week with Tarh Paddy, and it's been over close to 3 hours. We've been talking with the commentators. It was nice to have SOS Zama again after a long time. I hope he will be much regular this time. And thank you for tuning in. Thank you for all those who have been sharing via the social media platforms, watching on YouTube and on Facebook. We appreciate you very greatly. And Happy New Year in advance. Merry Christmas, though I didn't participate in the merrying of Christmas this year. But Merry Christmas to everyone. Thank you for all those who enabled the Department of Women's Services and ABC Amba TV to reach out to refugees. In fact, we did reach out to a handful of refugees, thousands of them, and they're very excited. They receive gifts, they receive cash prizes. Dr. Patience and our field workers will be providing you with these reports just before the president addresses the nation on Tuesday night. Until then, it's good night. Bye-bye.
People of Ambazonia, the countdown is on. The highlight of the year is almost here.
Fellow Ambazonians, on this day years ago, we all rose as one nation to assert the independence of our beloved country, Ambazonia.
In just a few hours, get ready for the moment you've all been waiting for. On December 31st at 8 p.m. Amba time, join us for an inspiring evening as the President of the Federal Republic of Ambazonia, His Excellency Dr. Samuel Ikome Sako, delivers the much-anticipated presidential end-of-year address to the nation.
This is the time to point our guns at the enemy only and not on ourselves. This is the time to escalate the defense of homeland with rock-solid determination.
Brought to you by State House Media and airing exclusively on ABC Networks 24 in English, French, Spanish, Portuguese, and Pidgin English. Don't miss this chance to hear directly from our leader as we ring in the new year together.
Dear people of the southern Cameroons, we deserve our own society where our people can live in peace and dignity, as was envisaged by our founding fathers.
Mark your calendars, set your reminders, and gather your loved ones. This is one address you won't want to miss. Stay tuned. People of Ambazonia, the countdown is on. The highlight of the year is almost here.
Fellow Ambazonians, on this day years ago, we all rose as one nation to assert the independence of our beloved country, Ambazonia.
In just a few hours, get ready for the moment you've all been waiting for. On December 31st at 8 p.m. Amba time, join us for an inspiring evening as the President of the Federal Republic of Ambazonia, His Excellency Dr. Samuel Sako, delivers the much-anticipated presidential end-of-year address to the nation.
This is the time to point our guns at the enemy only and not on ourselves. This is the time to escalate the defense of homeland with rock-solid determination.
Brought to you by State House Media and airing exclusively on ABC Networks 24 in English, French, Spanish, Portuguese, and Pidgin English. Don't miss this chance to hear directly from our leader as we ring in the new year together.
Dear people of the southern Cameroons, we deserve our own society where our people can live in peace and dignity, as was envisaged by our founding fathers.
Mark your calendars, set your reminders, and gather your loved ones. This is one address you won't want to miss. Stay tuned. People of Ambazonia, the countdown is on. The highlight of the year is almost here.
Fellow Ambazonians, on this day years ago, we all rose as one nation to assert the independence of our beloved country, Ambazonia.
In just a few hours, get ready for the moment you've all been waiting for. On December 31st at 8 p.m. Amba time, join us for an inspiring evening as the President of the Federal Republic of Ambazonia, His Excellency Dr. Samuel Sako, delivers the much-anticipated presidential end-of-year address to the nation.
This is the time to point our guns at the enemy only and not on ourselves. This is the time to escalate the defense of homeland with rock-solid determination.
Brought to you by State House Media and airing exclusively on ABC Networks 24 in English, French, Spanish, Portuguese, and Pidgin English. Don't miss this chance to hear directly from our leader as we ring in the new year together.
Dear people of the southern Cameroons, we deserve our own society where our people can live in peace and dignity, as was envisaged by our founding fathers.
Mark your calendars, set your reminders, and gather your loved ones. This is one address you won't want to miss. Stay tuned.